The four foundations of mindfulness were described by the Buddha as the single path to overcoming suffering and achieving nirvana. These foundations refer to the contemplation of four aspects of human experience: the body, feelings, states of mind, and dharmas, a term that will remain untranslated for this context. The progression of the practice follows a specific order, starting with the body, which is the most tangible, and advancing to the dharmas, which are the most subtle. This teaching is found in the Sutra, the Discourse on the Foundations of Mindfulness. The text describes that, in each contemplation, the practitioner remains ardent, clear, and attentive, having abandoned covetousness and aversion for the world. According to Buddhist doctrine, this set of practices is what leads to the end of suffering. Contemplation of the body. The first foundation begins with mindfulness of breathing. This was the same meditation used by the Buddha on the night of his enlightenment. He described it as a pure abiding that drives away harmful thoughts the moment they arise. The practice is simple: the observation of natural breathing. Concentrate on the point of the nostrils or the upper lip, feeling the air enter and exit. The Buddha's fundamental instruction is to be fully aware when breathing in and when breathing out. Awareness of breathing takes us away from excessive thought and anchors us in the present moment. Mindfulness of breathing develops in four stages. In the first two, you simply observe whether the breaths are long or short. In the third, as you breathe in and out, you perceive the totality of your body. In the last, the breath and other bodily functions become more subtle, which is called calming the bodily function. Another practice is mindfulness of postures. This extends to all body positions: walking, standing, sitting, and lying down, and the transition between them. When walking, you know you are walking. When sitting, you know you are sitting. This practice reveals the impersonal nature of the body, showing it as something alive that is influenced by volition. Next, mindfulness and clear comprehension apply mindfulness to daily activities. You become aware of what you are doing and why. Actions like walking, looking around, getting dressed, eating, or drinking become part of a meditative cultivation. Everyday life transforms into a practice, and the practice becomes fully integrated into life. The next two contemplations are analyses of the body's true nature. The first is meditation on the unattractiveness of the body, an antidote to lust. Lust arises from perceiving the body as something appealing. To combat it, you mentally examine the body in its 32 components, organs, tissues, fluids, exposing its unattractive nature. When seen with meditative eyes, the superficial beauty dissolves and sensual lust disappears. The other is meditation on the four physical elements to combat the tendency to identify with the body. You mentally dissect it into earth solidity, water fluidity, fire heat, and air pressure. By doing so, you realize that the body is just a combination of material processes, with no basis for the notions of I or mine. The final exercise is the contemplation of the disintegration of the body after death, which can be done with imagination or with real images. The goal is to visualize a decomposing body and apply this process to your own body, reflecting, "My body is also subject to this fate." This is not meant to be morbid, but to break our instinctive attachment to the body, revealing its transience. Contemplation of feeling. The second foundation is the contemplation of feeling, which refers to the pure tone of experience, pleasant, painful, or neutral. Feeling is an important object for practice as it feeds latent impurities. Pleasant feeling nourishes attachment. Painful feeling, aversion, and neutral feeling, delusion, manifested as apathy. This link between feelings and impurities is not inevitable when mindfulness is applied. The feeling becomes an object of observation. It does not trigger a harmful reaction, but is seen as an impersonal factor of experience. At the beginning of the practice, you observe feelings simply as pleasant, painful, or neutral, seeing them as mental events without an I that experiences them. As you progress, you start to differentiate whether the feeling is worldly, leading to attachment, or spiritual, leading to detachment. The focus then shifts from the tone of the feeling to the process of feeling itself, revealing the continuous flow of feelings that arise and dissolve. This marks the beginning of the insight into impermanence, which, in turn, weakens greed, aversion, and delusion. Contemplation of the mind. The third foundation is the contemplation of the mind, or the observation of mental states. Since the mind is just the awareness of an object, its states are defined by the factors associated with them. The Buddha listed 16 mental states, grouped in pairs. For practice, it is most important to focus on the first 6. observing whether the mind is associated with any of the three harmful roots or is free from them. When a mental state arises, it is simply noted as such, without being identified as I or mine. There should be no elation or discouragement, just a clear identification of the state, without clinging to desirable ones or resenting undesirable ones. With the deepening of the contemplation, the mind, which seems solid and stable, reveals itself as a flow of mental acts that arise and disappear without pause. Contemplation of dharmas. The final foundation is the contemplation of dharmas, which refers to groups of phenomena that reflect the core of Buddhist teachings. They include the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates, the 6 sense bases, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the Four Noble Truths. The 5 hindrances are sensual desire, ill will, sluggishness, restlessness, and worry and doubt. When one arises, you note its presence, and when it disappears, you note its disappearance. It is important not only to observe them, but also to understand how they rise, and how they can be eliminated when the hindrances subside. You investigate experience through the 5 aggregates: material form, feeling, perception, volitional activities, and consciousness, or the 6 sense bases, the senses and their objects, such as the eye and visible forms. You observe these phenomena, and any attachments that arise from the encounter between the sense and object, seeking to understand how these fetters can be abandoned. As the contemplation progresses, the 7 factors of enlightenment come into play: mindfulness, investigation, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. You note the presence of each one, discovering how they can be awakened and perfected. Mindfulness initiates and sustains the process, ensuring the mind is clear and balanced. Finally, when the 7 factors of enlightenment reach maturity, they culminate in the realization of the Four Noble Truths: the truth of suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path to its cessation. It is this understanding that permanently removes impurities and brings an end to suffering, fulfilling the Buddha's initial promise, the complete purification of beings, and the realization of nirvana.